Welcome back, family, to Gamecocks Hoops with Coop, where the mission on this channel is to grow the game of women's basketball, starting with our Lady Gamecocks. As you guys know, on last night, we picked up another dub, 71-56. Now, you know, when I break down the game, I got to throw an acronym in there. So the word for this game is grit. It wasn't the prettiest, right? We were down two starters. We were down McKeer, and we were also down Tanaya Latson. So this game had a different feel. No disrespect to them, but Texas A&M has been getting blown out by 20 plus points in their last few games. So really, this game was just a game that you had to get through, another business trip. Now, with us being down those two starters, it was a little bit different, a different feel. We had to approach this game with the next woman up mentality. When we first started the game, Texas A&M came out in that zone. I thought we were moving the ball pretty well, dishing it, finding Tessa on that weak side corner, and she was knocking it down. Tessa Johnson, I think, was 5 of 11 this game, an absolute assassin behind that three-point line. That is phenomenal. You cannot leave her open. She is definitely a three-point specialist on our team, and I think she finished this game with around 19 points. That first half was hers, right? If I had to pick a player of the first half, for me, it would be Tessa Johnson. If you guys think it was somebody else, drop it down in the comments and let me know who and why do you think so. But that first half, you know, a little bit back and forth. You know, to me, the energy really wasn't there. Nobody really could hit any shots besides Tessa. She was knocking it in. Raven didn't really have the best offensive game, but she made up for it in other areas, like the floor general she always is. I'm looking at her stats here. She you know, she only had 7 points, 2 of 11 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3, but she had 7 rebounds, which were key, and she had 8 assists, right? And only 1 turnover. Even though Raven's shot wasn't falling, she still found a way to affect the game and positively move us forward. I think that's one of the things that Coach Staley loves about Raven, saying that if you notice in the post-game interviews, she like, Raven told me when I was recruiting her, I was going to win multiple championships. She did the same thing. I think she went to high school somewhere in Atlanta, Georgia. She won multiple state championships there. She's just a winner. Even when she's not scoring, she understands the game at a deep level. Okay, if I'm not scoring, I can pass, I can rebound, I can get some steals. She is just a flat out winner, and we are very privileged to have her playing for our Lady Gamecocks. One thing that was kind of interesting about this game, Coach again did go with Adele Tack to start. But Adele Tack, looking at the stats here, only played 5 minutes, right? I'm not sure why Coach didn't decide to give her more minutes. You know, the 5-minute stretch she had wasn't the best, but usually she'll come back to it at a later time. I wasn't really sure of the reasoning for that, but we definitely gonna need our bigs. Coach also gave Turnabees about 10 minutes. She had 1 point or 2 from the field. She did have 5 rebounds. That's good. And 3 turnovers, still getting adjusted a little bit, and then 2 personal fouls. So that's a little bit better. You know, usually in the 10 minutes that she plays, it's usually around about 4 fouls or so. So that's a little bit better. Again, you know, we got to give her grace. She just got here from France about a month ago, so she's still getting adjusted. But once she gets in that weight room and understands the game of the SEC, yeah, she already has the physical assets. She can move. She got a nice touch around the rim. But once she gets that strength, we'll definitely have another force down in the paint. Going to our next big, Medina Okot. She played 22 minutes, 6 points, 3 of 3 from the field, which is good. 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 turnovers, right? And that's not terrible, 2 turnovers, but sometimes, you know, her decision making, she can kind of get excited sometimes, kind of running the break. And I think this game, she was actually able to dribble it down and finish. And that's an excellent attribute to have for a big. But sometimes you need to, when you corral the ball or you grab the ball, pivot, get it to your guard, and sprint and run the floor, right? So not a bad game from Okot. I think when she came in, it did kind of open up the offense. We were able to attack the gaps in the zone to kind of get them moving, get them into closeout mode. If you guys remember, we were able to pass it down and get wide open layups down there. That's just from Texas A&M being out of position on their rotations. Now, I saved the best performance out of all our posts for last, which was Joyce Edwards. Now, she had a monster of a game, 28 points and 11 rebounds, right? I'm starting to think that Joyce is our closer for this team, right? You know, we always need somebody, hey, go get us a bucket, close this game out, because reality of it, we was down 2 starters. The energy was a little low. We couldn't knock in any shots. Hey, this could have went either way, and it would have been a terrible, L if we would have picked this up on the road. It would have definitely threw a wrench in our plans if we would have dropped this game to Texas A&M. We're still predicted at the moment to be a number one seed, but losing to a Texas A&M, with respect to those ladies, that's going to drag your seeding for that tournament. That is a very bad loss to have on your record. But anyway, getting back to Joyce Edwards, she was a complete monster, running the floor. Maddie and Raven, being able to see her kicking that ball down the court, laying it up. She going through the lane between 2 people. It was nothing they can do. And you guys know what this remind me of. I'm not sure if you guys ever watched Joyce played in high school. She went to high school in Camden. But this is how she looked at the high school level. If you guys pay attention to the post-game interview, they were like, hey, Joyce, you went from averaging 12 or 13 a game your freshman year to averaging 20 plus your sophomore year. What did you work on, right? What did you work on in the offseason? And if you notice her answer, she said, I didn't work on much of anything. I just was trying to, I didn't work on anything specifically. I just needed more experience to get adjusted to the game. Now that she's adjusting to this game at 20 points a game, right? Look out for Joyce Edwards to be better and better every time you see her play. She's super smart, was in all honors classes. She is a scholar, right? Once she understands this SEC play and the high IQ of the college level of basketball, look out for Miss Joyce Edwards to take over, right? To take over. I can easily see her averaging 25 plus points and 10 rebounds next year as she continues to excel in her basketball journey. But it seemed like our players already knew, hey, get Joyce the ball and she's going to make something happen. So she had, here in the stats, 28 and 11. She had 4 assists. She did have 4 turnovers. But man, she is phenomenal, and she closed this game out with no problem. And I see a huge improvement just in her passing and playmaking ability. Once she gets that down, oh, you're going to double me? So, hey, I'm going to find the open shooter. I'm going to find somebody slashing down the lane. I'm going to make the right read. She's going to pretty much be unstoppable. She is, right? The size, the speed, can guard the post. She can pick up and switch and defend the guard. Joyce Edwards, we have a special player by the name of Joyce Edwards, y'all. Now, moving on to the guards, right? We talked about Raven. Again, Madison or Maddie McDaniel got to start. She's just a very intentional guard or point guard. She's not going to have many turnovers, and she usually doesn't shoot the ball too much. She's there to play hard defense and initiate the offense of what Coach Staley wants her to do. And pretty much you can guarantee that from Maddie every time she's on the floor. The turnovers, let's look and see what she had this game. She had 32 minutes. She had 7 points. She only shot the ball 2 times, 1 out of 2 from the field, 0 out of 1 from 3. She had 1 rebound, 3 assists, 0 turnovers. So she's a player that's really looking to get everybody else going and taking care of the ball. Now, I like Maddie's shot, right? I think she can be a little bit more offensive minded, Because last night, until Joyce took over, we needed them points. Like Maddie, if you can, her three ball is good. She's attacking the rim. Whenever she gets to the free throw line, she's a pretty good free throw shooter. She's a pretty good free throw shooter. She can knock them down. Like, hey, if you can get a bucket and you have the advantage over your defender, go get that bucket. So I would like to see that. But man, as far as ball security, getting into the offense, playing some tough defense, she is a absolute great player. And overall, y'all, this wasn't a great win, but to me, it was more of a character win, because sometimes you're not going to always have your best play, because sometimes you got to go to war when you don't have your whole army. And that's exactly what we had to do. We know that this score would be much different if we had McKeer and Latson, but we didn't, right? We had to go next woman up mentality. And we had to win through grit, through showing grit. And the G in grit, for me, this game stood for growth. First half, we looked smooth, we looked comfortable. They were swinging the ball around real good, working that zone, finding the open shot, and they were knocking it down. Even though they were keeping it within 10, 15 points, looked like we were on our way to another 25, 30 plus win. But then we had to move to the R in grit, which is resilience, in between that messy middle. Now, the second half, those shots weren't falling like they were in the first half, right? So we had to rely on more driving, taking it in, dominating the paint. That's always going to be a key to the game for the South Carolina Gamecocks. I think we out-rebounded them, or we were +7 in the rebounding category. I would like that to be 10 or 15 or more, right? We have to dominate. We have the size, but we have to dominate with the physicality, right? Joyce had 11 by herself, and Raven had 8, right? If I ain't mistaken. That's 19 of our rebounds right there. Almost half of our rebounds between two players. So I would like a little bit more physicality down in the paint to dominate. But yeah, we had to have resilience, because that the guard from Texas A&M prior, she didn't have but 14 points. But at one stretch, she was working only 5'3", right? That ain't nothing but heart. 5'3". And if you didn't know how many points she had, if you tuned in to look at the game during that time, you would have thought she had 30 or 40. That little streak that she went on, right? It seemed like you just couldn't stop her. And her three ball was working. I think the announcer said she may have only shot 3 threes for the whole year, and she shot 2 in the second half, almost back to back. The momentum was starting to swing towards them in the second half, and you could tell the energy on the camera, like they pumped up. They trying to get a big win to get their season back on track. And then insert Joyce Edwards, right? Leading our resilient effort to close this team out. And usually this is where average teams and players, they panic, but great teams and players, they lean in. They like, look, this is what I'm built for. This is why I put in the work. These are the moments that made me who I am. Insert Joyce Edwards, and you see the result of that. A big 28-11 game on the road. Moving on, the I in grid stood for identity for me this game. Who are we without 2 of our starters missing, right? Are we still able to step up and answer the bell? That gave this game tonight gave a lot of our players more playing time than they would usually get, right? Because most of the time they may be on the bench, but this game you get to play against a SEC team on the road, right? Remember, I said this year, I don't care what their record look like. SEC road wins against quality teams will be hard to come by, right? So some of our players were able to get that experience, because we're going to need them in the SEC tournament. I don't care. We need you to come in 5-10 minutes, get a couple rebounds, get a couple of blocks. We need get a couple of steals, make the right pass, get an assist. We're going to need each and every one of our players. So that experience, and I think Coach knows that. That's why she stayed with some of the less experienced lineups a little while longer, because, man, that game got a little close, right? In the second half, they cut it all the way down to about 5 points, right? Before Joyce came in, that lead seemed like it was down to 5 points. So really, they had a shot right up into the end. So Joyce said, I'm putting my foot down and I'm going to show you that, hey, I'm not giving up this dub, right? We coming to Texas and we taking this dub. But yeah, it shows the identity of your team. Are you willing to fight? Are you willing to step up when you don't have that Tanaya Latz in the lead on, when you don't have Makira out there to hustle, get those steals, that length out there? What you gonna do, right? And we answered the bell even when the game was tight. Again, that's going back to resilience and also revealing our identity as a team. Are we tough enough? Are we mentally strong enough to get the job done, regardless of the circumstances? And the last letter, T, in the word grit, stood for takeover. And you guys know Joyce Edwards. And it almost reminded me of, I was looking at some reels or some shorts on social media about bears. It was almost like Joyce was that mama bear. And we know when mama bear is walking with her cubs, you don't mess with it. It's almost like Joyce Edwards came in that game and stood up like the mama bear and said, hey, everybody else relax. Mama got this. And man, closed that game out with pure dominance, right? With pure dominance. She's definitely one of the best players in the nation. I can't harp on that enough. She just, mama bear energy from Joyce Edwards this past game. So what does this mean going forward for our Lady Gamecocks? We showed road toughness in the face of adversity. We helped some of our bench players get more confidence and more experience in this game. We found a late game blueprint that will work against a zone, and we executed from the free throw line. I didn't mention that earlier, but we look good from the free throw line. Let me check and look at the stats here. From the free throw line, we were 20 out of 25, 80%. So no complaints there. Excellent game from the free throw line. The turnovers, we did have a few. We had 17 turnovers, 17 assists. I would like that number to come down a little bit. But hey, we got the dub. That's the most important thing. If there's anything that I left out that you think I should add, drop it down in the comments. As always, talk to me, I talk back. If you enjoy this content and you want to help move the game of women's basketball forward, like the mission on this channel, like this video, share it with somebody else you think will enjoy it. Hey, until next time, I'll be dropping a video for the preview of our next game. Go Gamecocks. Let's go.